So getting started and the production process. So I have produced more than 1,200 infomercials. I've been involved in another 1,000 or so interviews with medical doctors and dentists, but 1,200 plus that have been paid productions. And along the way, I've always considered myself, not as a talk show host, but as a media coach and as a marketing guy. My interviews, and even if the public stumbles onto this, these are real. It is your truth. It's the doctor's truth that sits right here as they see it. It's their truth. It's not my truth. What I do as a media coach is help them deliver that message. So we talk beforehand. So let me tell you a little bit about the process. If somebody decides they want to use my production to go on local TV, or if they want to do a production just for the internet, a multimedia campaign, just for social media, etc., which is different, you'll still have full licensing rights for TV or full licensing rights for the internet or any other distribution that you want to use it for. The way it works, it begins with a pre-production meeting. This is where I get on the telephone with you and I listen. I'm a fast typer, so I type about 100 words a minute and I listen to your background, your training, your motives. I force you to brag about yourself. That means things that you're not going to say on TV, I want to know. As a person that's going to help deliver your message, I need to know. Also, I want to know your frustrations. What's going on in your local area, maybe that bugs you, or what's going on nationally that bugs you. I want to know when you knew you wanted to be a doctor. And I hear stories where from 5th grade to 7th grade, or their grandfather, their father, their brothers, their sisters married doctors and are doctors. And there's always an interesting story. So I want to learn as much about you as I can. I also want to look at your website. If you've written a book, I want to read your book. If you have a video blog or a written blog, I want to look at that. I want to look at your current advertising. Now, once I get a feel for who you are, and some of you aren't sure who you are, so I'm going to help you find out who are you, right? So once I get a feel for who you are, I'm then going to say, okay, doctor, here's how I think we should tell your story. And I'm going to share with you the commonalities of the 1,200 interviews that I've done, professional productions. I'm going to share with you, this is what the commonalities of the most successful interviews we've ever done. Success determined by new patients and increasing your bottom line. Okay? And so I'm going to give you tips on how to explain yourself. I'm going to run it by you. You're going to say, Randy, I think you got it, or Randy, I don't think you have it. Once we come to terms, and usually the doctor says this is great, once we come to terms on your message and how we're going to talk about your message, the next step is the design, the content creation, right? I will write out a list of questions that will lead you down the road to focus on those topics you want to talk about. Now, it's very important to know this. It doesn't require any preparation on your part because you, and this is, again, if the public stumbles onto this message, the reason this is a real interview is because the doctor just shows up answering questions they already know the answers to. Because we only have 27 and a half or 28 and a half minutes, my role as a host and a producer and a director is to make sure I don't tie you up with any questions that aren't necessary or irrelevant. It doesn't matter if they're relevant to me. See, I ask great questions because you tell me, Randy, these are the questions that my patients ask me every day. These are the frequently asked questions. These are the common misconceptions. This is the biggest misconception. These are the concerns. These are the fears. So by the time you arrive here in my studio, we have done our pre-production. I've sent you a list of questions. We even do a dress rehearsal meeting. So the dress rehearsal meeting is a brand new thing for us. Actually, I've only been doing it about 12 months. I should have been doing this 12 years ago. But the dress rehearsal meeting is on the telephone. We do a role play. I ask you the questions on the phone, and you give me a response. When I've heard enough, I say perfect. And if there's better ways to explain it based on how you wanted to explain it, I'm going to refresh your memory. In fact, when you're here, my typical show has about 40 outtakes in every show. Stop and go and stop and go. That's why it can be intimidating. When you look at my shows, you'll see them on TV, and automatically the doctors will say, oh my goodness, I'm not as good as that woman or that guy or whatever. When in fact, we stopped and we were stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And we film our show like a movie. So for example, oftentimes amateur people, They say, well, we spent all day to get that 30-second spot. That's not how it's supposed to be done, right? Where you just film a bunch of stuff or tape a bunch of stuff and then then in the editing room, try to clip it all together. That's not the way we do it. We shoot with 4 cameras, and when you're here, because of lights, it's intimidating, you forget what you were gonna say, you didn't sleep very well the night before. My role is to stop and say, look, I've talked to you on the phone, I've talked to you on our pre-production meeting, and this is what I know you wanted to say. I refresh your memory on the spot and we start. So it's almost like we go scene by scene by scene. In a movie, I've been told, they don't start shooting the next scene until they've nailed that scene. They don't just say, well, let's just film a bunch of stuff today and see what works out. No, it's scene by scene. And that's the way I look at it. So if I'm gonna ask you 30 questions, that's 30 scenes. We're not gonna go on the next question until we nailed that scene. But sometimes the doctor gets on a roll. So it's not that structured. I appear to be looking at notes, but I'm really not looking at notes. For authenticity, now sometimes, if it's a subject I've never interviewed somebody about, I do have some notes, but we stop and we go. So the end result, by the way, is a flawless back and forth, rat-tat-tat. We also, I use interruption techniques. I use different techniques. We use over-the-shoulder shots. We do what's called shooting dirty. That means every once in a while, I may have the pen in my hand and the reverse over-the-shoulder shot, my hand goes in the shot. These are the things that I learned from Larry King, O'Reilly Factor, Oprah Winfrey, Barbara Walters. They've written books, and so I've read the books. And so I modeled my style after the great ones. So the end result makes you look even better than you really are. In fact, if we do a good job, you look smarter than you really are, I look smarter than I really am, and the production looks good. And so people, when they watch a production that I do, this is what I believe, that they don't know why it's good, they just like it. That's the goal. Now here's another thing, my shows are boring. I tell people they're boring, right? But if you have a loose-fitting denture and you watch my dental implant shows, apparently they're one of the most exciting things ever. That's my most successful topic. Or my mommy makeover shows, very successful. Boring, but if you're after pregnancy, don't like the way your body is bouncing back, you want a more youthful looking body, it's exciting. It's like knee surgery, boring, but if you have a bum knee, it's exciting. Keep that in mind. It's a targeted demographic. So if you never aired the show on TV, on your website, just using it there, it doesn't take a lot of patience to get a quick return. So the process is complete. So once we come into the studio, so let's just suppose that you went through the process of pre-production, dress rehearsal, we go over questions, we go over whether you're going to use before and afters or not, we go over your wardrobe, we go over makeup, all of those things, whether you're going to use models or props or video or animation, all of that is worked out. And because we've done it, most of it before, we can tell you what has worked out of the shows. So the day of the shoot, what to expect. So the day of the shoot, you're in and out in 4 hours. That's it. Even if you fall apart, it's 4 hours. That's it. And in that 4 hours, we don't just start when you get here. We do a pregame meeting. We talk about what we're going to talk about. We talk about the first question, the second question, the third question. I have some humor. We break the ice, and you show me the pictures you brought, if you did bring any at all, or models or animation. Most of that's worked out ahead of time. And then we sit here for a while, warm up a little bit, make sure the temperature is just right. We put some makeup on you. We have a professional makeup artist if that's what we need. I also do makeup. And so from the time we say action, it's about 40 minutes. That's it. Now, my typical client is really a person that perceives themselves as being shy or perceives themselves as not a good public speaker. That's who, now, I have, in the world of plastic surgery, the most famous plastic surgeon in the world is a client of mine, Drew Orden from the show The Doctors, used my show for many years in Palm Desert, good friend of mine. One of the most famous dentists in the world, Bill Dorfman. We have David Hornbrook here in San Diego. So, and in the world of, whether it's heart surgery or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, with Dr. Jeff Life or Mark Hyman, I have the leaders in just about every industry, which can be very intimidating because the truth of the matter is they don't represent really the core of my business, which is just regular people that have something to say, that are really good at what they do. And I will tell you something, because I won't just take anybody on. I told somebody a little while ago, I said, look, I'm the worst to talk about this. I need an associate. I need somebody, which I have an assistant producer, Erika, talks about it. Because I'm going to be too overbearing sometimes. Because I'm going to tell you like it is. And I told Lay today, I said, look, the only shows that have failed are the ones that I had to talk the doctor into it. My ideal client, right? My ideal customer is somebody that says, oh my goodness, I could buy a half an hour of TV for $200 or $400 or $35. I'm in. They don't have to hear about the rest of it because they're convinced that if people see them on TV, they'll respond. So don't worry about credentials. Don't worry about all this stuff. We walk you through the process. We literally are. And by the way, I don't talk a lot about experience. And the fact that I have by far more experience than anyone else in this business plays a role because we've refined it. We could save you some time. But the other part is that the director, just like if you're going to hire a director, let's say you're going to hire James Cameron or Steven Spielberg, these people have reputations of good movies, or J.J. Abrams getting results, or Quentin Tarantino, right? Getting results. In the world of video on the web or video on local television, not to compare myself to those guys, but in this world of what I'm doing in infomercials, by far I've directed more than anybody in the world. And with that experience and results and a track record is what I bring to the table with you. So I want you to know that don't let your fear of this production process overwhelm you. Look, I've tried to write a book several times. I have a bunch of audiobooks, but I'm starting to write the book. I told you I type 100 words a minute, and guess what happens? I'm writing it. Oh my goodness, what do I leave out? Oh my goodness, do I have to add this? I'm at home at night and I say, I forgot about that. That's not the way this process is. You just show up, answering the questions you know the answers to, and we work it all out. 20 working days. So if you're here today, 20 working days later, it's ready to go. It's in your hands. And then from there, we do the media planning meeting. So we have a full team here to go over all aspects of media buying, how to put it on YouTube, how to put it on Facebook, how to tweet about it, how to increase your search engine optimization. All of those things are what we do. So if you have additional questions, because there's a lot of questions that come up, please give our office a call and let's set up a time to talk again one-on-one.